Well, good morning, everybody. Hey, it is Melanie Mitro, and I am here with Business Tip Tuesday today. It is Tuesday, April the 10th, and I have been getting an overwhelming response from all of you that you really have some difficulties getting your spouse on board with your vision for your business. And honestly, maybe it is like making it work for you. It is getting their buy-in, getting them to understand what it is that you are doing with this online business. So I am excited that you guys are here. So thanks so much for coming. Drop me a comment below as you are jumping on. And even if you're listening to the recording later, kind of just drop in and say, hey, these are some of the most common questions or most common difficulties that I have and getting my spouse to be part of my business with me, whether it's just in the support part of it or you actually do want them to start building the business alongside of you. All right, so let me just give you a little backstory. I did an Instagram story on Sunday night where I just went through and I talked about my husband and I talked about, how when we launched my business or when I launched my business, that number one, Matt did not give me his blessing. He actually told me that I was not allowed to sign up for my company. He basically said it was a scam, it was a ripoff, it was a pyramid scheme, that I would never be successful at it, and there was no support there whatsoever. He literally dismissed it. And honestly, he didn't even have the facts. He didn't know what the company was all about. He didn't know what our mission was. There was no research backing that. It was just like, no, you're not doing this. Like, this is not a viable opportunity. And I remember sort of like thinking to myself, okay, whatever, and I just kind of moved on. And, the opportunity just kept coming around. Like, it kept coming around, and I just kept thinking, man, I'd be really good at this. Like, I'm already having such great results with the products. I'm finding myself naturally sharing it with other people. People are asking me what I'm doing, that I've been able to achieve such great results. And I wanted to shout it from the rooftops that this worked for me. And I remember after I finished, 60 days of my fitness program, I'd gone through an accountability group. I had lost about 11 pounds. I remember making a collage. I did a side-by-side of my fitness results, and I shared them on my personal Facebook page. And I told my story. And I was not part of the company at that point. I was just a customer using the products. And I basically went on social media and I said, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I just completed the hardest fitness program that I've ever heard of. I never thought that home workouts actually worked. I thought you had to go to the gym. I thought you had to have a personal trainer. I also had an extremely jaded view of nutrition. Like, I believed that weight loss came from eating 100-calorie packs and Smart Ones frozen meals and cutting out food groups and restricting calories and not having fun and starving, basically. And what I found in this process is, holy cow, like, I can eat good food, that it's not about reading what's on the packaging, but it's actually flipping it around and reading the nutrition labels. And I just poured my heart out in this post. I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to help people take control of their life. I'm going to teach women just like me. And I put it out there, and I wasn't part of the company. And I got this overwhelming response of people that were like, tell me what you did. How did you do it? I want to know more. And I kept just shifting them to my sponsor. I'm like, here you go. So-and-so wants to do this program. So-and-so wants help, and she was like, Melanie, you can get paid for this. Like, do you understand you can make this your job? And I just kind of kept pushing it off and saying, yeah, whatever, but then eventually just, she just kept asking, and I just kept thinking about it, and I was naturally helping people already. And so I finally took that money that my family gave me for my birthday, and I enrolled in the company. And I didn't tell Matt because I just didn't want to hear him say, like, you're making a bad choice. And I literally waited 7 days before I told him. And I kind of was like, hey, this is what I did. And then I kind of cringed because I know he's going to be mad at me and he's probably going to yell at me. And he did. He just said, this is stupid. It's a waste of your money. And we were talking this morning, and at that point in time, right, when I signed up, it was not because I wanted to make a lot of money. It was because I wanted to help people. And prior to this coming into our lives, we had made a decision as a couple that I was going to be the stay-at-home mom. And I had always voiced that. Like, that was always my goal in life. Yes, I have my master's degree in special education. Yes, I have an undergraduate degree in psychology. Yes, I have I have an education. Like, I can have a career, but I really wanted to be home to raise my kids. So Matt was like doing everything he could do to climb the corporate ladder, to provide for our family, to work as many hours as he could, to establish himself, you know, whether it was bonuses or promotions. And here I am, and we figured it out like $150 extra a month. That was it. Once you paid all of the bills, once you did everything, like me staying home meant that is all the flexible spending we had, $150. There was no going to Target. There was no shopping trips. And if I spent money, it was like a ding went off on his phone and he was like, Melanie, what did you just go to Target for? What did you spend $15.23 on? Right? And it was just like this constant friction. So now here I am, and now I'm spending money on something that he doesn't believe in. So already he's ticked off at me because I spent our entire extra flexible money for the month on this bag of powder. All right, that's what he called it. And so here I am, like, saying to myself, all right, I'm going to make this business work. And so I went like crazy. Not crazy. Like, I was so excited to learn everything there was to learn about the company, the products, how to use social media, because I don't have a background in network marketing. I don't have a background in social media or sales, or I don't know how to build a business. And so I just went into learning mode and product education. And so every free moment that I had, I was on my computer. We didn't have a smartphone. At that point in time, I had like a flip phone because this was 7 years ago, right? And so I was at my computer morning and night. I wasn't doing the laundry. The dishes weren't getting done. Dinner was not on the table. You know, like, all the things that I did as a mom before, like, stopped happening. Literally, life stopped. I became like obsessed with building my business. And, you know, I was in the evenings where I used to just sit on the couch and we would watch TV. You know, we'd have dinner, we'd clean up, the kids would play, and, you know, we'd watch TV and we would just hang out as a family. I was now on my computer. So I stopped having conversations with my husband, right? I was literally like a slave to the computer. I didn't explain anything about what I was doing because he didn't really care anyways, because he thought it was stupid. So I was like, why would I argue with him about it? So I just kept doing my thing. And it was like every time we would go out, as soon as I could get back home and get on the computer, I was on the computer, right? You know, and I was obsessed with learning how to launch and grow my business. And I could feel the tension beginning to build, but I just kind of ignored it because I knew that, like, this is what I wanted to do. And eventually we sort of had this kind of breaking point where we had like a huge knockdown, drag out argument. And Matt basically said to me, I'm giving you an ultimatum. It was about 9 months into my business. I was just starting to really catch steam in my business. I was starting to make some money. You know, my time was really starting to pay off. That compound effect was happening. And he was like, it's either your business or it's our family and me. And I will never forget kind of taking that step back and going, really? Like, you're going to make me choose my family or my business? And I was like, well, absolutely. I will choose. Family is my number one priority. Like, I'll quit Beachbody, like, right now. And so we continued to argue for a little bit longer. And finally, we kind of came to this agreement. And he just looked at me and he said, you know, Melanie, I know you do love this, but we can't keep going on like this. Like, we don't have a relationship, and our house isn't getting cleaned, and like the laundry isn't getting done. And like, I need underwear to wear, you know, to work. Like, literally, I was not upholding my duty. I was out of whack. I was out of alignment. And it wasn't because I was excited. I was so excited. And I also really struggled with kind of coming out of the gate and saying, like, hey, you know, I kind of have a change of heart. And I didn't know how to say it. I actually felt guilty for wanting to work, because I, all my life, was grooming myself to be this stay-at-home mom. And when I got there, it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. And I realized that as much as I love my children, I really love a job, and I really love contributing to society, and I really love teaching in some format, whether it was in a classroom or it was through like leading an early intervention program, or the clients that I had, you know, that were on the autism spectrum. Like, I loved that professional life, and I was missing that as a stay-at-home mom. And so I didn't know how to communicate that without feeling bad, like I was doing something bad. And so once I finally got that out and I said, like, I do want to work. This actually really fills my cup. I actually really enjoy this, and I really do want to make this a business. And once I said that and we started opening the lines of communication, things started to change. And so Matt said, all right, I'm going to support you. Maybe just a little bit. He still wasn't quite there yet. He didn't quite believe in the business opportunity. But he was like, I'll support you, but we have to get a hold of the time management piece. And so this is really where we began our process. And it was 9 months in. And at this point, there was still no support. He was not on board. He wasn't doing fitness programs, wasn't following any nutrition plans with me. Like, he was just kind of coexisting. He was kind of like standoffish about the whole thing. But what I realized, looking back in that moment, is that number one, I wasn't communicating at all. It was just no communication, because I figured, well, if he doesn't care about it, then why am I going to tell him what I'm doing? And why am I going to spend the time explaining? So for me, the very first thing that I decided that I was going to do is learn how to communicate my goals and my desires and why I was working on this business so that he understood. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about. Step one is, if you want your spouse to support a business venture that you're doing, you have to explain what it is that you do and why you're doing what you're doing. So, even if they don't quite understand, I had to say to Matt, like, I am on the computer. I'm not just scrolling Facebook. I'm not talking to somebody else. Like, I'm not talking to other men. Like, I am actually supporting my customers. Look, I am making these social media posts, and this post is meant to drive traction to this. Look, I'm creating recipes and I'm sharing them so that people will see I have something to offer. And so I started to communicate what I was actually doing on the computer. I would flip the computer screen and say, oh my gosh, my customer just lost 5 pounds and she shared her results and look how amazing she looks. I helped her do that. That brings me so much joy. And so, and I would talk, so I learned to start having those conversations about what I was actually doing and why it was going to help me build my business. All right. And so Matt is your traditional business owner. So now I had to learn how to say, these are my goals, but here's how it's going to affect our family. So number one, start with the basics. Start with just explaining what it is that you do in your role with your company. All right. Why are you on social media? What are you doing? And then stick to that. When you're building your business and you're on social media, work. And when you're not working, get off of it, right? So learn to kind of be disciplined in that. The second thing is, we've got to communicate our goals. So I can remember that my first couple of goals were, number one, I wanted to earn $500 in December so that I could pay cash for all of our Christmas presents. And I remember telling him that and saying, this is, and Jen, it is easier said than done. And I will tell you that it took 18 months for this to happen, but I was relentless at continuing to share, continuing to help educate and help him to understand. So at about, at that first December, I was about, 6 months into my organization. And I said, I'm going to earn $500 cash for Christmas. And I remember him rolling his eyes at me like, whatever, and I was like, no, I am going to do this. This is going to happen. And I made myself a checklist, and I did like every $100, and I was going to color it in until I got to 500. And I would go I would go to our kitchen table, I would sit on the couch at night, and I would work as hard as I could at getting to that goal. Because I knew if I got to that goal, it was like something in my corner that said, like, okay, Melanie actually reached a goal that she set for herself. She's not just playing on the computer, but she's actually earning money. And then when I was able to say, like, I reached my goal, I earned $650, not just $500, and then we paid the credit card bill with the money that I had earned, it was like one little check in my corner to say, okay, she's doing something here. Like, she's still putting in a lot of time, but now it's actually starting to work. So that was kind of step one. Then step two was then we went into a new year, and I was like, okay, I want to be an elite coach. I want to be the top 0.01% of the company. And for me, it was like, I want to walk across stage. I want to get the invitations to like the private parties. I want to get all of the swag and the accolades that came along with it. Like, that's what I was looking at. But when I talked to Matt, when I would say to him like, hey, I'm going to be an elite coach this year, he was like, whatever, But when I said, I'm going to be an elite coach and it's going to be a 2-star and a 5-star bonus 4 times a year. It's going to be a monthly bonus that we are going to get for our family, right? It's going to give us like all these extra little perks when a day early on some of the trips and some of the things that we do. When I started to explain it and I started to say like, this is how it's going to financially impact us, he was like, tell me more about this. Right? So now all of a sudden, I'm not speaking to the recognition, which speaks to me, but I'm speaking to the businessman who sees like, okay, this is how we get a promotion. This is how we increase our income. And then what I said to him was, you know what? There are going to be times where I'm going to need to work a little harder. If this is my goal, then I'm going to need some help. Because if I want to get to that rank or that income, I'm going to have to grow my team. And that means I'm going to be available to do some mentoring calls. You know what? A lot of my team works full time. So, on Wednesday nights, I'm going to need you to put the kids to bed on Wednesday nights because I'm going to get on an evening call with them, right? And so I let him start doing bedtime. And we communicated that ahead of time. It wasn't like he walked through the door after a long day of work and I just shoved the kids at him and was like, I'm out. I got to do this mentoring call, because that irritated him. That annoyed him. And I knew that I had to give him that decompression time because he had a stressful day too. And I needed to give him that downtime so when he came home, he could decompress and then I could go do my thing. I stuck to, so that's kind of number one. So, really communicating, how is reaching this goal going to benefit your family? How is it going to financially benefit you? And what is it going to do for you in the long haul? So make sure that you are communicating what you want. And if your spouse tells you that that goal is unattainable or it's stupid or you can't do that, do not let that defeat you. I want you to turn around and say, I will show you, like I will make this happen. And then a big part of it is actually making it happen. If you want somebody to support you, you prove to them that you have what it takes. And that means staying disciplined. So now the ball's back in your court. If I wanted Matt's buy-in and I needed some help on the weekends, for example, he would get up on Saturday mornings and he'd get the kids out of bed and he'd get them breakfast and, he would kind of get them dressed so that I could have like 3 hours on a Saturday morning to get my work done. And so if I wanted him to help me and do that morning routine, right, instead of it always being me, I can't go in my office or go sit at the desk and I can't scroll on Facebook and I can't be, shopping on Macy's or Nordstrom's. Like I have to be working and I have to be able to see like the income is going into the bank account and I am actually spending my time appropriately and I'm not wasting time, because that's a surefire way to not get somebody's support is if you're asking for help and they're giving it to you and then you're not making any progress in your business. So you have to make sure that the activities you're doing are in line with the goals that you want to achieve. All right. So, and then the other thing is I schedule in that downtime. So if you want to get your spouse on board with you, make sure you are scheduling downtime. So, like I was talking about the beginning where I literally was all business all the time, 24/7. I never stopped. I learned very quickly that I needed to have unplugged times. So when I communicated my goals, to Matt, I also said, it's going to be this short period of time, or I'm going to push for this long, or Saturday's going to be our date night, or Saturday and Sunday afternoons and Thursday nights, I won't work, like those are going to be our times together. So I communicated not just my work times, but when was it going to be family time? And then I did the most important thing that you can do. I kept my word. Keep your word. If you say you're not going to work, don't work. Put the phone away. If you're going out on date night, don't be checking your messages at the dinner table, right? If you're, going into the park with the kids, like be with the kids, be with your spouse, like have that separation between the two. It is so important that you are doing your part, that you're upholding what you say you're going to do and you are taking that correct action. And then the last thing is I really want to encourage you to make sure that as you're setting goals and as you're talking this through with your spouse, that you remember, hey, I know that the short-term sacrifice is going to be worth the long-term results. And I think a lot of times we say like, oh my gosh, it's so much sacrifice to build a business, which it is, but I want you to really think about where could your life be 3 to 5 years from now if you do the hard work. if you push through maybe the uncomfortable moments you're having right now where maybe you don't have a lot of support or people are questioning why you're doing what you're doing, but if you can get disciplined to be really focused on the right activities that are producing a return on your investment or actually giving you an increase in income, I guarantee you in 2 years from now, your life will look drastically different. And all of those people that were unsupportive are going to either give you some support or acknowledge it, or they're just not going to be a part of your life anymore. So I do want to encourage you to have that, a little bit of that stick with itness to see the bigger picture of where you are going. So communication is key. Knowing what your goals are and why they are your goals. Why are they important to you? Why are they important to your spouse? Like, why should your spouse have buy-in on this? How is it going to affect them? What is your business going to do for your family and your lifestyle? So communicating that, setting those boundaries and sticking with the boundaries. When it's time to be done, it's time to be done. When it's work time, you're working on the right activities, all right? And then constant involvement, right? So a lot of times I just involve Matt. I ask for his opinion. If I'm working towards a goal or I'm having an issue with, one of my team members or one of my clients, like I'll just ask for his opinion so that there is a little bit of buy-in together and we are just communicating and talking to one another. And then what we're going to talk about as we move through the next couple of weeks is we're just going to keep adding layers to this. So next Tuesday, for Business Tip Tuesday, we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this concept of spouse support and really getting them to share that vision and what the roles are. Like Matt doesn't work the business with me, as in a sense, like he's not enrolling new team members, he's not enrolling new customers, but he's my business partner and we do this together and it looks very different. So, and I don't force Matt into doing any of this. It had to be on his own time. So we're going to talk a lot more about that next week too, but I just want to kind of give you a little insight of where we're going from here. So first and foremost, write out your goals, write down why they're important to you, communicate them with your spouse. Don't get discouraged if they don't believe in your vision right off the bat. I want you to say to yourself, I will show you. I will be able to do this. I can manage it. I can make it successful and we can have a balanced sort of lifestyle together. All right. Okay, guys, I really hope this was helpful. Again, drop me a little note in the comments if you're listening to this, even recorded. Let me know what future questions you have so that I can make sure those get answered over the next couple of weeks as we go on this journey together. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day and I will see you all later. Bye, everybody.